Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday. We're keeping it in storm alert weather mode as we're tracking this bitterly cold air that's kind of just hanging out across much of the country. Look at these current temperatures. 18 in Minneapolis, negative 12 in Bismarck. That's 18 below zero in Minneapolis, by the way. 3 in St. Louis, 7 in Cincinnati. And just for reference, this is recorded right around 7:30. So if you're watching later in the day, these temperatures are probably going to be just a little bit warmer. But nonetheless, there's a really cold start. Look at those wind chills. Negative 35 in Minneapolis. I've never felt anything that cold and certainly wouldn't want to. Feels like 11 here in Chattanooga, and that's plenty cold for, I think, many of us. And taking a look at your wind chills a little bit closer to home, in the single digits in places like Lafayette, Dalton, Calhoun, Athens feels like 11, 5 in Altamont. These wind chills will come up through the day, but it is going to be another very cold January day. And I get that it's January, and climatologically speaking, it's our coldest period of the year, the second and third week of January. But still, this is some serious cold. 18 Dalton, 13 Murphy, 18 Dayton. So once again, we're waking up to the teens. And just a side note, you're going to start to notice some of the shallow bodies of water forming ice. Definitely don't try to walk on those here in the southeast. That's never a good idea. Never going to be enough to support your weight. So that's just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Now let's take a look at your futurecast temperatures. So we're going to have highs back in the mid to upper 20s. Yesterday we had 27 officially at the Chattanooga airport. Our average high right around 51, 52 this time of the year. So nearly cutting that in half. Very cold air. Once again, we're only going to be able to top out mid to upper 20. So we've been below freezing officially at the Chattanooga airport, and that's where we take our official reading since 2 p.m. on Sunday. And some of you, especially along the plateau, northeast Alabama, have been below freezing longer than that. So we're going on day 2 with temperatures below 32 degrees. And by the time it's all said and done, many of us will have over 80 hours accumulated of below freezing temperatures consecutively here across the Tennessee Valley. Now tonight, we'll drop back into the teens quickly. By tomorrow morning, pretty good chance some of us are waking up to the single digits, especially north of Chattanooga or really any of those rural communities. Single digits along the plateau, Murphy, Blue Ridge awfully close as well. And these may be a little generous. I think it may be colder than this. So be prepared for that. Tomorrow morning going to be bone-chilling cold as well. Now the big thing on everyone's mind, I know this isn't going to have as much of a local impact as some of you may want if you're a snow lover, but this is just a wild storm unfolding this morning across the Gulf Coast. Let's just kind of take a look at some of these areas of snow. So a lot of this in North Georgia not hitting the ground. Keep in mind, your radar probably going to show blue over you at times today. We have very dry column of air overhead, dew points in the low single digits. So until the dew point and temperature can come together, we're not going to have any of this hitting the ground. But it is in southern Louisiana and southeast Texas. If you look at some of these webcams in and around Houston, Leak City, Beaumont, New Iberia, Baton Rouge, up through New Orleans, Lafayette, Alexandria, just about the entire state of Louisiana getting some snow with the exception of the northwest corner. Just looking at some of these reports over here on my other monitor, looks like a light snow reported at New Orleans Airport, New Orleans International, Opelousas, Alexandria. And I know this doesn't have anything to do with our area per se, but it's very rare. So we have to talk about very rare weather events. This is going to continue to move across the Gulf Coast. So Mobile, Alabama, which I lived there for 4 years, going to get a decent snow out of this. The Florida Panhandle could pick up 4 inches, and the most Florida's ever picked up from one storm was 4 inches. So they could break a daily, or not a daily, all-time snowfall record somewhere in the Florida Panhandle. And then South Alabama going to get a decent amount. South Central Georgia. How far north does this go, though? That's what we're going to watch closely. If the moisture can move a little further north, we might get a little more snow potential across portions of North Georgia especially. But here's a look at our local radar. We have blue showing up at times. Not seeing any reports, just checking my radar scope app. It looks like a lot of this isn't, well, some of it is starting to hit the ground in the Atlanta metro area. So some of this may be hitting the ground in places like Sandy Springs. So we'll see how this plays out. If we get some of those snow bands trying to move to the north, maybe, a light dusting possible in places like Dalton, Calhoun, LJ, Blue Ridge, maybe even Murphy. I don't know. We'll watch the radar pretty closely, but any snow that falls will accumulate on roadways. So even if you get, a tenth of an inch of snow, it's going to cause issues. So of course that's going to be something we're on guard about later today. But here's some of those 12-hour snowfall reports so far, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches across southern parts of Louisiana. And there's more to come, especially across southern Louisiana. Some areas could pick up upwards of 10 inches in southern Louisiana, maybe even pushing a foot. Which is just bizarre. New Orleans could pick up 4 to 6, so very impressive snowstorm nonetheless. Here's a look at your current warnings. In pink, you have your winter storm warnings, and the purple is a winter weather advisory. So Houston, New Orleans, Jacksonville, Florida, all under winter storm warnings. A very, very strange storm indeed. So if we take these off for a minute and just kind of jump around, you can see the winter weather advisories, not quite in our viewing area, go to about Canton and then they stop. Could be extended further north. We have advisories in upstate South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Beaufort, Savannah, Brunswick, Georgia, Jacksonville, Florida, under winter storm warnings. These warnings go all the way to Gainesville. Ocala has a winter weather advisory. St. Augustine. This is just crazy stuff. These are areas here, the Big Bend, that were hit with hurricanes recently. Perry, now under a winter storm warning. Panama City, some of our favorite places to go. Destin, Pensacola, Gulf Shores, all under a winter storm warning. New Orleans. And you want to know the most bizarre thing about all of this is blizzard warnings in effect for Port Arthur, Beaumont, Texas, Lake Charles, Lafayette, all along the Louisiana coastline. I don't know if that's ever happened. I'll have to do, I would imagine it hasn't, but just wild stuff. I-10 is going to be an absolute mess going in and out of Texas, Louisiana, through Florida, really. If you have to travel, if you're a truck driver or just someone who is heading down to the south, maybe for a beach week, not going to want to do that. It is going to be nasty down there. I've been looking at some of the road cams in and around Houston, Lafayette, parts of southern Louisiana. Roads are terrible, covered like that. So as we take a look at your futurecast, again, here's that system. Going to continue to bring some heavy snow to places like New Orleans later today, Mobile, Alabama, Pascagoula, Montgomery, Macon. Now here's the interesting thing. We'll loop this, take a regional look at it first. You got the mixing going on, Tallahassee, maybe even Jacksonville, some icing, Savannah, Charleston, Myrtle Beach. Initially, that should transition over to heavy snow all the way up to Virginia Beach, Columbia, potentially getting a decent amount of snow, and then gradually tapering off by daybreak tomorrow. Still could be a few lingering snow showers. But locally, here's what I'm looking at. So what local impacts does this have? Well, as we get into the lunchtime hour, we're going to have some of this maybe actually hitting the ground. So Calhoun, LJ, I'll take that off so we can see a little bit better. Fort Payne, maybe, Summerville, LJ, Adairsville, Jasper, kind of going to be on that line. Could that moisture move a little further to the north? If it does, again, light accumulations will cause issues on the roadways, but notice the fine cutoff. Again, the further north and west you go, pretty likely that you're going to stay mainly on the dry side of all of this. Could a flurry or two make it to Chattanooga, Cleveland, Murphy? Yeah, it's possible. I know we had a little bit of light snow in South Haven, Mississippi, which is far north, and it accumulated on the roadway. So I'm not going to take it completely out of the realm of possibility. It is, but I'm saying North Georgia has the best chance of seeing any flakes falling later today. And then by this evening, most of that moisture is going to be into the Carolinas. So it's going to be about a 3 or 4 hour window where we could see some of those flakes hitting the ground, probably between lunchtime and 4 p.m., maybe a little bit later for North Georgia. So we'll watch that. But the further north you go, Dayton, McMinnville, Dunlap, Monteagle, I wouldn't expect to see anything other than some clouds and just some cold weather. So kind of what we're looking at this morning. As we take a look at that snow potential, again, some areas along the Gulf Coast could pick up maybe 6, 7, 8 inches of snow, 1 to 3 to even 5 inches in the southern part of South Carolina, down towards the lowlands, and south central Georgia could pick up a bit. So it's going to be one of those rare days where the further south you go, you're going to run into some snow. Here's a look at those travel impacts. Again, if you have plans to travel really along I-75, Atlanta southbound going to be terrible. 95 from Jacksonville to really up to Virginia going to be bad. I-10, parts of I-20 going to be pretty rough, especially I-10 from Houston to New Orleans to Jacksonville across the Florida Panhandle. Not going to be good. Going to have a lot of travel issues. Again, these are areas that just don't deal with this kind of winter weather often. So there's going to be issues. And I wish I had some live cams on here to show you. But definitely an interesting system. We can look at the European really quickly. Heavy snow, again, right across south central Georgia later this evening. Now, we're kind of on the edge. Again, it looks like we're just going to miss out here. Then Columbia, parts of Charleston, and then continuing off into the Carolinas by the time we get into Wednesday morning, and eventually exiting out by Wednesday morning. GFS pretty similar. Notice that blue trying to make it to the north. Don't think it's quite going to do it. It looks like Atlanta might be the extent. Again, it's going to be a close call, but there's going to be a sharp cutoff. I'm not expecting inches across North Georgia, even if it does snow, maybe a dusting at most, unless something drastic happens. Every now and then you get these surprises with these systems, so you never know for sure until you know. But again, best chance of flurries to light accumulation, North Georgia, north of Chattanooga, really north of the Tennessee state line. Maybe a flurry along the line, but the further north you go, really no chance for any moisture getting that far to the north. So, it's something we're watching. Just a rare storm, though. If you have friends on the Gulf Coast, tell them to send you some pictures. Tell them to stay safe. For us here locally, stay warm. Do what you can. Make sure you're dripping those faucets because we are going to have overnight lows in the single digits and teens. So we'll keep it in alert mode today. Going into your Wednesday, we should get above freezing in spots, especially here in the valley. And then by Thursday, 42 with some sunshine. 40 on Friday, maybe a flurry or two on Friday afternoon. And then this weekend, mid-40s with some rain chances Sunday into Monday. So the next 3 days going to be very cold, especially today, first part of Wednesday. And then Thursday, we're still going to be down in the teens and low 20s by the time we wake up. But by Thursday afternoon, we'll lift the storm alert weather day, and things will start to warm up slowly but surely. But again, that's all I had for you. If anything changes or if we have any winter weather moving in, I'll let you know. Stay safe and enjoy your Tuesday.